One day, Rosa looks at me and asks, "Teacher, am I too old to learn English?" Her voice is quiet, but the fear is big. This happened last year, and honestly, I still think about it sometimes. One of my students, a woman named Rosa, did something that surprised me. She was 58 years old, and she decided to start learning English from zero. Not because of work, not because of travel, just because she wanted to. She told me later that she used to feel embarrassed, even just thinking about English. She thought she was too old to start learning something new. She would say things like, "My brain is slow," or "That's for young people." But deep down, she really wanted to speak. One day, she saw a flyer near her local supermarket. It was just a simple sign, nothing fancy, that said, "English for everyone, all ages welcome." And for some reason, that sentence really stayed in her mind. She said, "I took a photo, but I didn't do anything that day. I just walked home holding my groceries and thinking about that flyer." She kept looking at the photo on her phone, again and again. She told herself, "Maybe this is just a silly idea. I mean, I'm almost 60. But that night, she couldn't sleep well because her mind kept saying, "Why not? What are you waiting for?" So the next morning, she called the number. She told me later that her voice was shaking a little. She said, "Hi, I saw your flyer. Is it really for all ages?" The woman on the phone laughed in a kind way and said, "Yes, of course. Everyone is welcome, young and old." Rosa was still nervous, so she asked again, "Even for someone who is 58? The woman said, "Absolutely. Come join us. You won't be alone." And something about that answer gave her courage. She said, "Okay, I'll come on Monday." Then she hung up and just sat there in her kitchen, in total silence. She looked at her phone and said to herself, "Wait, did I really say that?" She told me, "I almost didn't go. I kept thinking of excuses like, maybe I'm too tired, maybe it's raining, maybe I'll start next week." But Monday came, and she showed up. She wore a clean blouse and nice shoes, and even put on a bit of lipstick. She told me her heart was racing the whole walk to the school. She said, "I felt like a little kid on the first day of school, scared and excited at the same time." And that's how her journey started. So, Rosa walked into the classroom and smiled at me just a little. She looked around and saw that most of the students were in their 20s or 30s. There was even one teenager who was only 15. Right away, she told me later, she felt out of place. She sat down in the back row and didn't say anything, just opened her notebook and tried to stay quiet. I started the lesson with some simple greetings. We practiced. "Hi, my name is..." and "Nice to meet you." Everyone was smiling, repeating together, some faster than others. Rosa followed, but I could see her eyes moving quickly. She was trying to read everything, repeat, and also not make a mistake. She told me later. I felt like my mouth couldn't move fast enough. Then I asked everyone to introduce themselves. Just one sentence. Hi, I'm from Yiddish. Simple, right? But when it was Rosa's turn, she froze. She looked down, then up, then said, Hi, I'm Rosa. I'm from... And then she forgot how to say her city in English. You know, it was one of those small moments that feels huge when you're nervous. She laughed nervously and said in Spanish, Oh no, I forgot my city. Can I say it in Spanish? Everyone laughed a little, not in a mean way, just light. I smiled and said, Yes, of course. She said it, and the class clapped for her. But inside, Rosa felt embarrassed. She told me later, I felt like I was the slowest one in the room, like my brain was too old and my mouth too heavy. After class, I noticed she left quickly. No questions, no goodbye, just her bag and out the door. I didn't want to push her, so I waited. The next day, I sent a short message. Hi, Rosa. You did great today. Hope to see you next class. No answer. Then Monday came again, and I wasn't sure if she'd show up. I kept checking the door every time someone walked in. And then, right before class started, she came in, slowly, quietly. But she came in. She sat in the same place, in the back row, and looked at me with a small smile. I smiled back and said, Rosa, nice to see you again. She nodded, but didn't speak. That day, we practiced simple questions. What's your favorite food? Do you like coffee? Things like that. Again, Rosa was slow. She looked at her notes a lot. She said, Yes, I like, tomatoes, but with a big question mark in her voice. Some of the other students spoke quickly, even joked around, and Rosa, she just stayed quiet. She told me later, I felt like a turtle in a race with rabbits. They talk and laugh, and I'm just trying to finish one sentence. It made her feel small and tired, and honestly kind of stupid. Even though she isn't stupid, not at all. But that's the thing with learning a language. You can be smart, but still feel lost at the beginning. And Rosa, she was starting to feel like maybe she made a mistake. She started to think, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I'm too old for this after all. After a few weeks, I started to notice a change in Rosa. She was still coming to class, but something was different. Her smile was smaller. Her shoulders were tense, and she spoke even less than before. One day, after class, she stayed behind. She waited until everyone left, then walked slowly to my desk. She looked at her hands, took a deep breath, and said, Teacher, can I ask you something? I said, Of course. And then she said very quietly, Do you think I'm too old to learn English? When she said that, I could hear the fear in her voice. Not just a question, but a heavy feeling she carried every day. She told me, When I go home, I feel tired. I listen to English, but I don't understand much. Then I think, maybe my brain doesn't work like before. She said she compared herself all the time. At home, she remembered the young students, how fast they spoke. She thought, they learn in weeks, and I need months. Sometimes she practiced in front of the mirror. She said, I repeat simple sentences again and again, but I forget them the next day. And when that happened, she felt frustrated. She told me, I feel embarrassed. I feel nervous when you ask me a question. I feel stupid, even though I know I'm not. There was one moment, she said, that really hurt her. She was on the bus, listening to English on her phone. A young boy next to her laughed and said to his friend, Why does this sound so easy for me, but so hard for her? He didn't say it to her, but she heard it. And that sentence stayed in her head all day. She told me, that night, I cried a little, not because of English, but because I felt old. She started asking herself hard questions. Why did I start this? Who do I think I am? Why can't I just accept that this is not for me? She even thought about quitting. She said, I opened my notebook and closed it again. She didn't study for 2 days. She avoided English videos, avoided English songs, avoided everything. And then she said something that really stayed with me. She looked at me and said, I'm not afraid of English. I'm afraid of trying and failing at my age. When she said that, there was silence, the kind of silence that feels heavy but honest. And at that moment, I knew. This wasn't just an English class for her anymore. It was something much deeper. A few days after that conversation, Rosa came to class again. She didn't look very happy, but she was there. And that, honestly, was already a win. That day, we were practicing small talk. We did a simple activity. Students walked around the room and asked each other questions. What do you like to do on weekends? What's your favorite food? Easy stuff like that. Rosa stood near the wall, holding her paper and looking around. She didn't move. She didn't ask anyone, so one of my younger students, Emma, walked up to her. Emma was 19, full of energy, always smiling. She looked at Rosa and said, Hi, I'm Emma. Can I talk with you? Rosa laughed a little and said, Okay, but I'm not good. And Emma replied, That's fine. Me too. I'm still learning. So they started talking. I watched from my desk, not listening too closely, just giving them space. They were speaking slowly, repeating, smiling, using their hands. It wasn't perfect, but they were trying. After class, I saw Rosa standing by the door waiting. She walked up to me and said, Teacher, can I tell you something? I said, Of course, she said. That girl, Emma, she's so kind. She didn't make me feel small. She just talked to me, like I was the same. Then she told me something beautiful. She said, I always thought I was the slowest, but maybe I'm just learning at my speed. and maybe that's okay." She smiled, and it was the first real smile I'd seen from her in a while. Then she said, "I'm still nervous, but I don't want to quit." And in that moment, I saw something in her eyes. Not confidence, not yet, but something stronger. Determination. She wasn't trying to be perfect anymore. She just wanted to keep going. And you know what? That small conversation, just 5 minutes with Emma, changed everything. Because after that, Rosa started to speak more in class. Not a lot, but more. She asked questions, even when she wasn't sure. She made mistakes and laughed about them. She wrote notes and showed them to others. One day, she even helped another student who missed a word. She said, "Don't worry, I forget words too. We can help each other." That's when I knew something had shifted. Not in her grammar, not in her vocabulary, but in her mindset. She no longer said, "I'm too old." Now she said, "I'm just learning like everyone else." And honestly, that's when real progress starts. After that moment, Rosa never missed a class. Rain or sun, she was there. Always in the same seat, always with her little notebook, and a quiet smile. She still made mistakes, of course. She still said, "Ugh, I forgot that word," or, "Oh no, not again," and laughed at herself. But the fear, the shame, the feeling of being too old, it started to disappear. Slowly, step by step, she found her own rhythm. One day, at the end of class, I asked everyone, "What's one thing you're proud of this month?" And when it was Rosa's turn, she raised her hand. She said, "I'm proud that I didn't quit because I wanted to. Many times, but I didn't." She looked around and added, "I used to think I was too old. Now I think I'm just getting started." The whole class clapped, not because her English was perfect, but because her words were real. That was 6 months ago. And today, Rosa still comes to my classes. She speaks more now. She jokes. She helps new students. And sometimes, she even brings cookies for the group. But more important than English, she found a kind of confidence that was hiding inside her. She told me once, "Learning English didn't just teach me new words. It taught me I'm not finished yet. There's still more life to live." And I think that's the real lesson here. You're never too old to start learning, and you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going, because the only real failure is giving up before you begin. Rosa is not perfect, but she keeps going, and that is real progress. If you feel too old or too slow, remember Rosa. So, leave a comment with, "I'm still learning." Thank you for practicing with me. See you next story.